the question of Muslim ticket is a no-go area. It's dead on arrival.
Anybody that is telling you that northern Muslims will not support Christians is telling you false statement. A friend of mine, a northern brother of mine from Kano State, when he learned I was coming to this program, he told me that I must be obi-centric going forward. This is a northern Muslim talking.
Hello, my Naija people. How una dey? Today is not going to be a scripted video like I usually do. Today mainly I'm doing some kind of analysis. I want us to look at this Muslim ticket conversation that has dominated the polity all week. It's still trending, and lots of people are coming up to speak. People are trying to justify, people are countering. So it's not a scripted video, so we're just going to take it slowly, looking at the issues one after another. And before I get into this conversation, please remember to subscribe to my channel. Please remember to like, remember to drop a comment. And if you don't mind, share. I really would appreciate that. When you like and get to subscribe, it helps this video to have a further reach. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into the conversation. I usually will say here that what I do here is my perspective. I try to bring my perspective by the much information that I have at my disposal, and some of the insinuations flying around out there in the polity. So my informed opinion, my informed perspective to the issue, and I know that you probably may want to agree, or you may have a different opinion, and that is why I always encourage you to please drop your comments and your opinion and your thoughts in the comment section. I really would love to hear it. So I think this conversation should continue. We should sustain this conversation. This Muslim ticket conversation is something we should talk about. Like you already know, I think on 10th July or thereabout, the APC and the presidential candidates of the All Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola-Ahmed Tinubu, announced his running mate in the person of Kashim Shettima, the senator representing Borno Central Federal Constituency. He was also a former governor of Borno State. He was governor for between 2011 and 2019, and is now emerged as the running mate for the APC and Tinubu. So the issue is not just that Kashim Shettima, had emerged. It is the issues that his candidacy or emergence has thrown up. Of course, many Nigerians have been anticipating, waiting for Tinubu to announce his vice presidential candidate, his running mate. So it's not about Kashim Shettima emerging, and maybe not necessarily about Kashim Shettima, his character as a person, maybe not necessarily, but we're looking at the fact that Kashim Shettima is a Muslim, and a number of issues coming up. Now, I've itemized some of the issues and some of the things that people are saying out there in justifying this ticket. Now, this is not an argument for Christians. Of course, I'm a Christian, but I am not making a case as a Christian. Some of you may find that difficult to accept, but if you follow the conversation, you may be able to tell if this is objective enough, because I'm going to try to be objective as much as possible. I'm going to try to look at this as a non-Muslim, and as somebody trying to look at the case that the Christians are putting up, and all of those are speaking up against these arrangements. So this is not about me as a Christian trying to defend the Christian faith per se. No, that is not what I want to do here. I just want to look at this as a Nigerian and want to be able to put the issues up, for us to look at, and you'll be able to tell if I have told the line of objectivity in all of this analysis and the conversation today. So Ahmed Tinubu had come out to say that one of the major factor he had to consider in picking a running mate is competence, that he had to consider. He had to put competence ahead of all other considerations. And lots of people, Christians, and have come out to really criticize that statement. And I think I will start from there. People say, let's put sentiments aside, let's not bring religion to the forefront, let's consider competence. And I say, with all due respect, how is that even an issue? Are you saying that, like a number of persons have asked, that there are no competent Christians in the APC? Even right away, I can name a number of Christians who can easily fit and qualify to be running mates alongside Tinubu. So the question is, how do you say that there are no competent? That narrative, come on, I don't think that Tinubu and his handlers really had to think that through. How do you come to Nigerians and say that the reason that you are picking a Muslim and you're running a Muslim ticket is as a result of considering competence? Are you saying that amongst all members of the APC who come from the north, who are also Christians, none could fit? I think there's an issue with that position. Well, it depends on what Tinubu means by competence anyways. Maybe competence here, we're not looking at capacity to deliver in the office, your intellectual wherewithal, maybe not necessarily. Then this brings me to the other things that may be unsaid. The other unsaid, personally, I have good reason to conclude that the issue of competence that had been brought forth is small screen. The real issue is that it appears that baba-ahmed Tinubu really does not have confidence in the abilities of the Christians to bring in the votes. Being president is his lifelong ambition, and he's not obviously not leaving that to any chance. Tinubu is quite desperate to be president, and when I say desperate, I don't mean that in any derogatory or in trying to take anything away from Tinubu. Of course, he's desperate and probably wants to serve, and there's really nothing wrong being desperate to want to serve. But the question is, at what cost? Tinubu he means business, and he doesn't want to leave any stone unturned, and he doesn't want to have to probably put any stumbling block in his way to becoming the next president. And it appears that he doesn't think that having a Christian running mate will help his cause at all. There's this insinuation that maybe the Northerners may not vote for a Southern Christian president alongside a Northern Christian, because it is largely believed that the Christians are quite a minority in the North. So Tinubu may have considered that. In fact, it is seeming like that is most probably the major consideration here, and not necessarily competence, as that may have been some kind of a smoke screen.
It is insulting to say no competent Christian to be a vice president. How competent is Tinubu to be president? If you say my father, because my father is a Christian in the North, my father is not competent. No bishop is competent. No Christian professors are competent. I think that is annoying. That is insulting, and he should apologize to Christians for saying
so
that.
If this is anything to go by, it also brings other issues to the fore. You want to ask, now, who says that the North will not vote for a Christian running mate, a Christian Northerner? Now, how did we come to that conclusion?
Asiwaju made the decision because he felt if he chose a Christian candidate from the North, the Muslim voters are not likely to vote for him. That is a fallacy and has no evidence to suggest that. From 1999 till date, every person who ever emerged as president in Nigeria was voted into power by a majority of vote from the North and from the Muslim.
Anybody that is telling you that Northern Muslims will not support Christians is telling you false statement. A friend of mine, a Northern brother of mine from Kano State, when he learned I was coming to this program, he told me that I must be obicentric going forward.
You should join the obedient movement.
Good. This is a Northern Muslim talking.
Now, before I showed you that video, I was looking at the assertion by some, who says that bringing religion to the fore is actually being sentimental, that some can even go as far as calling you a religious bigot and all of that. But the question is, who brought religion to the fore? Who brought religion into this conversation? It is the APC and Tinubu. Because, it is established now that a major reason that, they considered this Muslim ticket is because they thought this is the best way for them to win. I want to ask, is this not actually playing on the weaknesses of the system, about the sentiment of the people? They probably must have concluded that the northerners, especially the northern Muslims, are, religious fanatics, and however, they would go with a Muslim ticket. They wouldn't mind a Muslim ticket, not caring about, how the other sections of the country really feel. I think that may just be a mistake. Because let's not also forget that in many of the northern states, there are, a large, proportion, a sizable number of, Christians who could actually do you some damage if they decide to work against your interest, as it has to do with, electioneering. So I think that has Tinubu really done his due consideration? Has he really looked at the whole issue, properly? Is this not gross disrespect, gross disregard for, a section of the country? So
this shouldn't be what Christians should be crying out for. Muslims should supposed to take up this fight and say, we don't accept this because it is against the Muslim faith. This is anti-Islam. In the book of Holy Quran, chapter 4, verses 135, he says, "Oh, you believers, stand for justice, even if it is against yourself, even if it is against your own parents, even if it's against your own relatives, stand for justice, be witnesses for Allah." It says stand for justice. Now, if you're now trying to justify injustice because it actually supports your narrow sentiment, you are not a good Muslim. You are a potential Boko Haram recruit.
And for those who say, "Oh, let's not bring religion into this, let's, we're looking at competence and all of that." So, like I said, Tinubu and the APC brought religion, to the table here. You're the ones who have said that, "Oh, you cannot win if you do not get a northern Muslim, a northern Muslim to a northern Christian." You are the one who has said that. So, you brought religion. I think I liken this to what had happened in the PDP in picking their presidential candidates. Atiku had emerged, even though the sentiment out there is that a Southerner should be the next president, and all major political parties, by extension, ought to just produce a Southern candidate. And Atiku and his people have said that there's no constitutional backing for such a stand, and they went into the primary election and they, emerged as PDP candidates. So yes, this is not the constitutional matter. Power sharing is not the constitutional matter, but the question is it fair? How do you, as a northern House of Fulani or northern Fulani, go and have President Muhammadu Buhari hand over to you on May 29, 2023, as the next president, from the point of view of fairness, equity, justice, respect, consideration, national unity? Do you think that is proper? So all these are the questions that we always come up. So the question is, how true is it that the APC will not win, or they may not have a good chance of winning, if they do not feed a northern Muslim as vice president, a Muslim ticket?
A political party is in the business of winning elections. Mm-hmm. Now, and to win elections, you need to get the votes to beat your opponent. Now, the way I see it is, in choosing your vice president, that must be paramount in your mind. You can have the best ticket, and if you don't win the election, it's a waste of time. So whatever candidate we are going to choose, we will bear in mind that that vice president would contribute to winning that election. How does he contribute? Either because he's popular and he can bring in the votes, or he can bring in the money that will help our logistics in getting out the votes, so we can win the election. But then there's also the requirement that you want to run a united country. You want to run a country in which you don't have friction in the society. Peaceful, settled, and everybody going about his own business. To that extent, you must factor in Nigeria's peculiarities in politics. That is why, for example, in recognition of our own peculiarities, the northern governors and the majority of us in the north felt that the presidency ought to shift to the south. It's not a requirement in the constitution that it has to shift. there's no zoning. But so we can have a country that is united, that everybody can go about doing his own business in a peaceful environment. It could have been possible for a northern candidate to emerge, but then he will know that running the country in that manner will make the southern part of Nigeria, hostile to that government. So allowed it to shift. Now, extending that consideration to the Muslim ticket, I live among the Christians, and I know that among the Christians, the question of Muslim ticket is a no-go area. It's dead on arrival.
It has been largely said that President Muhammadu Buhari rejected a Muslim ticket, even though Tinubu was quite keen on being the vice president. The position was ceded to him, and he had to present somebody in the person of current vice president Yomi Osinbajo. So how did Osinbajo emerge? Now it is the same scenario that has just played out here. So how did Osinbajo emerge? And what was the political wherewithal? What was the influence politically of Yomi Osinbajo, when he emerged as vice president? And that election was crucial. It was tense for obvious reasons. So you had a president who, was taking a second term, and you know how that is. It's not like Buhari now, who is going out and, only trying to ensure that his party remain in power. He's done his 2 terms, but Goodluck Jonathan was actually seeking a second term, and you know how that can be. The tension that can emanate from that kind of a situation. And you had an opposition party in the APC who meant business. They were serious and they wanted to get power, and they did everything. Permit me if I even use the word desperate, quite desperate to get power. And it was a tense election, you would agree. So yet the APC, in a bid to win, still could not feed a Muslim ticket. Now that Nigeria is even further and even much divided along ethnic, regional and religious lines, a political party and the ruling party, for that matter, dares to feed a Muslim ticket. Is this not arrogance? Is this not desperation? Is this not a total disregard of the feeling of Nigerians and a large and very influential section of the country? Talking about capacity, how does that even fly? A section of the country that has, politicians like Yakubu Dogara, a former Speaker of the House of Representatives, a section of the country that can boast of the former SGF, Babache, David Lawal. Then you have the likes of Boss Mustafa, the current Secretary of the Federation. So you want to ask yourself, you mean these are not qualified enough? And let's not even talk of all the other politicians out there, both prominent and not very prominent, because even Yomi Osinbajo was not that prominent. The only reason he emerged is because he was a close ally of Bola Tinubu. And if you ask me by my experience of Nigerian politics, you really don't even need such a very popular politician to be vice. No, you don't need that, because ultimately it is the party, it is the influence of the party that will get the votes. It is the influence of the party that will win the election. Ultimately, it is the presidential candidate that is usually the man that bear the brunt. It's usually the man that is the arrowhead that will really sway the votes. So there's something that I must say. Usually people tend to be quite mischievous when they talk about this winning votes and influence and all of that. It is the influence of a party that usually win an election. The argument has been on in the polity about who do people vote for? Is it the party or the individuals? And many times, even in courts, our courts have largely come out many times to actually state that it is the party. It is the party that people vote for. If you have a ticket and candidates have emerged, usually party faithfuls go back to their domain, they go back to their constituency to do the job, to ensuring that they win. The party wins. That is how this politics is played. Even the whole idea of zoning and all of that. Yeah, of course, sometimes you may have, people may not be so popular and prominent, in a bid to balance the tickets. Sometimes they emerge as maybe running mates and all of that. So usually the leaders go back to their people to ensure and convince and influence them, to vote. That is how this politics is played. And that is how it has been. So when people say, oh, we don't have a very influential, Christian from the north that can really give us the vote, I think that is quite, I would say, with all due respect, mischievous. It doesn't fly. and it doesn't really add up. Now, let's even look at the power structure of Nigeria right now. Lots of people are beginning to look again at, all of the conversations and sentiments that have really dominated the Buhari administration over the years, especially from the religious and regional point of view, that, a section of the country has an agenda to dominate. Some have even come up with the whole conversation about Islamic agenda and all of that. And people are having to look at that again and say, what? Is there really an attempt for a group of people in one section to dominate another? Is there truly an Islamization agenda? And you want to look at this Muslim ticket of the APC again, and you want to add 1 and 2 and look at everything that's been happening in the last 5-6 years, and people are beginning to think again. Look at the current structure of the country. You have the president of the Federal Republic, a Muslim. You have the Senate president, a Muslim. You have the Speaker of the House of Rep, a Muslim. You have the presidential candidate of the APC, a Muslim. You have the vice presidential candidate of the APC, a Muslim. Now, if you go to the security institutions in Nigeria, time may not permit me here to begin to run through them one by one. You would see that is a trend, there. Even much dominant is that you see, members of the country from a certain religion, dominating the security institution of this country. And if you go from government agencies and parastatals, you will see that this is largely the trend. And you do not think that people have a right, a cause to raise alarm and say, no, we cannot allow this. There seems to be an agenda to dominate. So the question is, why shouldn't people raise all of those questions? Why shouldn't people, express all of these fears?
There are numerous fears. First of all, this is not the first communique we as Christians elders in the North sent. On the 26th of February this year, we signed another communique when we were putting the party structure together. And the idea was, within the party structure, we should have a Christian. And if you look at the whole North, we don't have any Christian at the upper level, except only one Christian as an assistant secretary. That's all. The whole of the North.
In the party structure?
In the party structure, the whole of the
Not in government?
Not in government. In government, it's even worse. If you look at the government, we have only 2 ministers who are Christians in the North. Pauline Talen and Zida Kume. That's all. They feel very much unfairly too. And because the current government has, I don't know whether by design or by other means, openly shown that they don't care about the Christians' feeling.
Now, a cross-section of people are also saying that, maybe the Christians are, raising unnecessary alarm. Maybe they are being unnecessarily bothered about this. Maybe they are unnecessarily being too sentimental. After all, there are many other religions in this country. There are many other groups and sections. We cannot reduce Nigeria to just a Christian and Muslim conversation. Well, with all due respect, nobody is reducing Nigeria to a Christian and Muslim conversation. Nobody is necessarily drawing a line of Muslim and Christian. Nobody is necessarily drawing a one-line divide, Christian, Muslim. No, except we want to deny the reality that stares us in the face. The truth of the matter is that when it comes to religion, Nigeria over the years has been reduced to 2 sections, 2 divides. It is Christianity and Islam, Christianity and the Muslim religion. That is the way it is, So, and many times when we do this divide and we say, oh, Christian, usually, especially when we reduce this to the 2023 conversation now on the APC Muslim ticket, we're not necessarily even looking at Christian per se. I need Nigerians to be able to look at this from a broader perspective. We are also looking at many other groups, because actually this development affects even many other groups who may have been, disregarded, who may have been alienated, because of these perceived numbers. Oh, they can't produce the numbers in the election, which usually is not necessarily true. So it's not about Muslim Christianity. No, it's more than that. It's more than that. It is the fact that a section of the country, probably because they are in power, feels that they can take other sections and other interests, for granted with utmost disregard and disrespect. That is the issue. So it's not necessarily about Christian, Muslim, And when we're having this conversation, it is usually a Christian and a Muslim. That is what Nigeria has become. It is the reality. And if any other section, maybe other groups, members of other religions feels that they've been skewed out of the conversation, of course they can come up. They can also organize themselves and let their voice be heard. But at the end of the day, we are still going to reduce the conversation to fairness, equity, and justice, respect, and peaceful coexistence.
You see, when you are at the table, you can make a decision. But if you are not at the table, you can't make the decision. And if you get people of the same ideology to sit and make decisions for everybody in the nation, it becomes an echo chamber. You're just repeating yourself. What we know is Nigeria is multi-religious, is diverse. Why can't we get different people of different both religions, ethnicity on the table so that we can see the matter, whatever we're discussing, from different point of view? Why do we narrow ourselves?
So when you say it really doesn't matter, what matters is good governance and all of that, that argument doesn't hold water, because if we are going to stretch that argument, we'll say, okay, we're not going to just stop with religion, then we should stretch it even further. Some of those who are now, saying that Muslim really doesn't matter, had argued that the presidency must return to their region after the current president leaves office. And even when there were talks of the possibility of a northerner emerging as candidate of their party, they resisted it, and they worked seriously to ensure that their region produced the presidential candidate. So how do you now do a turnaround and say that, well, we have to relegate religion? It is not a constitutional provision that there should be rotational presidency. No, it is not. But you see, on the consideration of fairness, equity, inclusiveness, and respect, and peaceable living, peaceable coexistence, statesmen and leaders over the years have thought it wise to adopt a rotational presidency because of the peculiar nature of the Nigerian state, a country where you have diverse people, both in ethnicity, belief, faith, and all of that. So how do you now switch the rules, turn the rules around? I think with all due respect, there may be a level of mischievousness, in all of that. If we say, let's not reduce this to religion, let's remove all of these religious sentiments in choosing leaders, in the emergence of leaders, then we should remove ethnicity, we should remove regionality in all of the considerations. Yeah, of course we should. Now, I believe it makes sense. I believe it is fair, for a southern president to emerge after, President Muhammadu Buhari. Looking at the structure of the Nigerian state, the composition of the Nigerian state, I think that makes sense. At least that arrangement is quite practicable to manage all of the differences and all of the, sentiments and all of the various divides and, lines here and there within the Nigerian state. Of course, we are going to evolve as a people. We're actually evolving. So maybe the time will come where we may have to do away with that. Then we must be ready for it. We must be mature for it. We cannot rush the process, because even the United States, I hear people say, those are mundane sentiments. No, they are not mundane sentiments. I can tell you that even the United States of America cannot afford a Muslim presidency. They can't. Quote me anywhere. The United States of America cannot afford it. So it is not a mistake that over all these years, over 200 years of democratic practice, the United States, you would agree with me, is actually the epicenter of democracy, the very center where all of that democracy learn from and draw their experiences and examples from. The United States cannot afford a Muslim ticket. They keep saying that, religiosity are mundane considerations. They are not. Faith beliefs are a serious consideration in human existence. As much as humanists and some people have tried to extinguish faith and belief from human relations, it's never going away. It's going to be there. Beliefs, faith, and all of those things run the world. In fact, I can argue, even though I may not have the time to do that here now, that religion actually even play a more deeper and a serious consideration in the polity of the United States than it is in Nigeria. And beyond religion, all other sectional considerations. People think that it is only in Nigeria that we consider ethnicity, regionality. That's not true. In the United States, they do. Over there, you have various interests, ethnic interests bordering on nationality. You have Negro considerations. You have Latino, the Native Americans, the Indians, and all of that. You have Chinese interests. All of those nationalities who have now become Americans, all of those nationalities have their interests, and those interests and those sentiments come up every time, even in the American election. Religion has always played a role. One of the major reasons the LGBT is very prominent in the American polity today, it also has a direct connect to religion. In fact, it was Barack Obama, former American president, that actually helped the LGBT to gain national relevance there in the United States, as well as global, relevance. Remember when Barack Obama was emerging, he really didn't have the support of the church. It's been reported that he actually went to the church to seek the support because he claimed to be an Anglican, but the church really didn't see him as, a Christian. So they really did not support him to be president. So in a bid to garner influence and, stand in a good place to win that crucial election, he had to, seek support from the LGBT, and they gave him the support in full load. They gave him remarkable support, and Barack Obama had no choice but to promote and project their agenda. So if you see all of those things that Barack Obama and the Democrats have been doing over the years for the LGBT, it's not just because they like the LGBT. I don't think Barack Obama himself is so interested in the LGBT. It's all for political expediency. All of these are quite glaring. Well, I stand to be corrected anyways. So I think it is actually falsehood for people to say that, we are considering ethnicity, regionality, religion, and we're giving it too much consideration, and that all of those considerations are quite mundane. It is not true. Except people want to be mischievous. It is not true that those factors always play out in Nigeria alone. No, it's very dominant everywhere because faith and religion is a serious matter when you are talking about, human beings and human coexistence and human relation.